I just looked at my thumbnail sketch or picture, excuse me. Looks like I'm giving everybody the finger. I'm not. It's just the way that it worked out. My facial expression is that in memoriam of one Mr. Paul Reubens, Pee Wee Herman, who passed away this week. That's why today's episode 512 of Dylan Knows, is entitled Pee Wee's Last Adventure. I don't want it to sound like it's maudlin or depressing or anything like that, but it's his biggest hit was Pee Wee's Big Adventure. Pee Wee's Playhouse did pretty good as well. But that was his biggest hit, what he's most known for, and one of the, I should say, funniest movies I've ever seen, and also started Tim Burton's cinematic career, which I also am very thankful for as well. So it is Sunday, August, 6th? Yeah. First Sunday, first weekend of August, first episode of Dylan Knows set in August 2023. So think about it, I usually do my show Saturday nights late, but because of summer and my daughter, which I'll talk about in a second, and other things as well, I've been shifting it to Sunday, and I'm kind of liking it, doing it on Sunday. When I started the show almost 10 years ago, that comes in September, by the way, I started on a Sunday, but that's also when football hits, and I don't want to miss football because of my Reubens, so I might shift back to Saturdays during football season, which goes from September to, God willing, February with the Super Bowl and all that. After that, I may reevaluate and shift back to Sundays because I like doing the Sunday stuff. It's during the day, so I'm not exhausted, and I'm not staying up till 2 a.m. And then, even though it's a Sunday the next day, getting up late and feeling tired already, it's kind of fun. And, might be able to get more viewers. I mean, so far I've gotten 2 new viewers the last 28 days to raise my total back up to 97. So that's really cool. I'd like to get 3 more by my 10-year anniversary, but I'm not going to push it. I'm not that into followers. Don't care that much, really, to be honest. But yep, it's August. My daughter will be coming home from her summer-long work in experience at Scout Camp. She's been there every week since the end of June, and we see her for roughly 24 hours during the weekend, and then she's back up there again. Now we drive her up and drive her back, stuff like that, so we see her then. But to have her back at home for good is very good. Starting today at 5 o'clock, she will be done officially her summer commitment. And so she's got about, let's see, today's the 6th. So she's got 22 days of regular vacation to relax, though. Next weekend, the campers or scouts are going to Philadelphia. Weekend after that, Noelle's going back up to Broad Creek to do something for her Order of Arrow stuff. And then the weekend after that is Noah's birthday and the last weekend of school, or summer break. So yeah, fall is approaching pretty quickly. So she'll be home during the week, but she's going to have commitments for the first 2 weeks coming up. And then I think she's free weekend on her brother's birthday weekend. So that'll be good. So a lot of stuff going on. Last week's episode I really enjoyed a lot. It was a fast, brisk 1 hour plus episode, not really that long. And I'm hoping to do another one like this. There was a lot of interesting things. And maybe I'm starting to get into a little bit of a groove now. And that's kind of why I like this Sunday thing. So as I said, I'll be doing this Sunday thing. So let's see, today's the 6th. So 7 days is 13th, 20th, 27th. So I got 3 more episodes set on Sundays. Now I might have to do the 27th on a Saturday because I think we're going to the Oriole game on the 27th with my wife's company, McCormick. So we'll see about that. But yeah, so at least 2 more in August, and then football starts. And then Labor Day weekend, I think I can also do on a Sunday also because there's no football Labor Day weekend. It's the weekend after that we have it. So yeah, that's right. It's not that far. It's the 6th of August. I mean, we're talking about, 1 month from now, it's right around Labor Day, so that's like the official end of summer. So let's get to it, shall we? So this week, some interesting stuff went on. The big news, though, and the thing I'm going to talk about first and expound upon a little bit, which might make this episode a little longer, is Paul Reubens' death. Most people know Paul Reubens as Pee Wee Herman. And honestly, that was my first exposure, really, of knowing him as an actor, as Pee Wee Herman, when Pee Wee's Big Adventure came out in 1985, I was 12 years old. So I was the right age to enjoy his antics. And I remember seeing it in the movie theater and enjoyed it immensely. And I might have even done the laugh and the giggle and I know you are, but what am I stuff all the time. I still quote that movie periodically because it's hilarious. It is such a funny movie. And such a bizarre choice to have Tim Burton direct it. But we didn't know Tim Burton was Tim Burton at that time. This is Tim Burton's first movie. So, and Danny Elfman's one of his first scores he also ever did also. So that is really an interesting thing. His score is outstanding, by the way. If you have not heard the score to it, it's outstanding. But Pee Wee Herman, Paul Reubens, I will be calling him Paul Reubens from now on, Pee Wee Herman, which is one of a multitude of characters he played in his career. Everybody loved Paul. He was 70 years old when he passed away. He had been fighting a secret battle with cancer. He did not want his fans to know he was suffering. So he did not let anybody know what he was going through. But he did have one last message just before he died, apologizing for not revealing his cancer prognosis. And I'm like, dude, you didn't need to apologize. There's no reason for it. It's your own personal business. But cancer is a killer. And luckily, this is something else big that happened this week. My mom finished up her radiation for her cancer, so she does not have to do any more chemo, any more radiation, any more anything with her cancer as of now. She has a checkup in 3 months, which is just typical. And now she's just doing the recovering from all the stuff. She's got various things all over her body from the radiation stuff that she's got to go get out and stuff like that. But she is done. Finally finished her radiation. I really thought it was going to be September when it was going to happen because I thought this radiation was going to go for a lot longer, but I'm glad it didn't. And she seems to be a much bigger spirit. She hasn't been calling me as much lately, which is great, which means she's getting out and doing more things on her own and having more fun. And hopefully when the glorious, wonderful autumn, fall comes, we'll be able to spend more time with her. But it also affected my family as well. My stepfather died of cancer. A friend from work died of cancer. Actually, a couple of friends from work, I think, died of cancer. I know of a bunch of people who have had cancer and some who've beaten it. My stepmother beat cancer. My aunt-in-laws, my mother, and no, not really, just a friend of the family. She also beat it as well. It's a horrible thing, and Paul Reubens, you did not have to apologize for not revealing it to us. But through his myriad career, Pee Wee Herman was his most famous character. I remember, in retrospect now, watching the Blues Brothers. He plays the role of the waiter who waits on the Blues Brothers. Don't think he has any lines, but he's definitely Paul. You know that. The actress who plays Elvira, I forget her name right now. I just read her bio, her memoir a couple years ago, was a huge friend of Paul's and even appeared in Pee Wee's Big Adventure as not as herself. She was playing a character that wasn't Elvira. So that was kind of interesting as well. He was, lots of people revealed stories about him. He was a kind and generous soul. But he also, much like a Robin Williams, seemed to be hurting on the inside and had maybe not depression, but had certain aspects that mirrored Robin Williams's life as well. And luckily, he was able to overcome whatever demons these were that he had. But he did a lot in his career. I mean, as I said, Pee Wee Herman, Pee Wee's Big Adventure, the lesser sequel, Big Top Pee Wee, was awful. During Pee Wee Mania, he appeared in a crappy movie called Back to the Beach, which was a way to bring back Frankie Avalon and Annette Funicello as grown-ups, as their kids were becoming beachgoer things. He did the movie, the song, Do the Bird, Bird, the Bird is the Word. And that was a play on his tequila dance he did in Big Adventure, which is a huge popular bit. He also started his own Saturday morning TV show called Pee Wee's Playhouse, which was an absurdly insane show, but it was absolutely glorious, and it was exactly who Paul was and who Pee Wee was. And it won a bunch of awards. It had a huge viewership. The Christmas special is always on the list of top Christmas specials of all time. And all kinds of craziness. But he also did other stuff as well. He had a little run in with the law, which we'll talk about in a second. After that, he sort of wanted to put Pee Wee to bed a little bit because the 80s was at all Pee Wee stuff. I mean, from what I heard, who told the story? Joe Piscopo said on a podcast this week that Paul Reubens was one of the finalists for the Saturday Night Live with Piscopo, Eddie Murphy, and Gilbert Gottfried and all that. He was one of the finalists for it, but he did not get the role. And that being rejected by Saturday Night Live is what helped him create Pee Wee's character. And so he had been doing it. He'd been doing it on his stand-up routines all during these 80s. So the 80s was the decade of Pee Wee. And then after his scandal, which again I'll talk to about in a second, he decided to branch out a little bit and appeared in a bunch of other movies, some of which actually are going to show up in our anniversary segments in this episode, which is kind of interesting. And Paul's birthday is at the end of August, is actually 2 days after my son's birthday. So that's kind of interesting. It's the 27th of August would have been his birthday, would have been his 71st birthday. He had a recurring role on Murphy Brown, which was a popular TV sitcom in the 90s, where he played the spoiled son of the network owner who wanted to make changes to the Murphy Brown's news show because he was named executive producer of the show due to his father's influence, and he acted the part of the spoiled little rich kid, which was great. And he, showed his range and so like that, showed how good he was there. He did that. He starred in a bunch of movies that you would not have expected him to. He was in what does that say? Oh, yeah. He reteamed with Tim Burton 2 more times. He was in Batman Returns, where he played the Penguin's father, along with the actress who played Simone, who was a character he ran into during Pee-wee's Big Adventure. They were the parents of Danny DeVito's Penguin. And Paul went on to play the father of the Penguin again in the 2000s TV show, 2000, 2010s, the 2010s. Not exactly sure when it came out. Gotham, the show that was on Fox for a while. He was approached to replay the role of the Penguin's father, this time a different version of it. This time he wasn't a version who, when the Penguin was born, as he was in Batman Returns, the parents dumped him in the water. In Gotham, he actually was around for his son, so because he was not quite the grotesque beast that Reubens did. And to me, that's still one of the reasons why Batman Returns is still not one of my favorite Batman movies. Is Dan DeVito was perfect casting as the Penguin, but Burton was given full reign to do it, and he turned him into this sort of grotesque sort of creature. And I guess that's okay. It fits Burton's personality, but I would prefer maybe a more modern take on Penguin, but that's just me. And I'm still contemplating. I want to show my daughter because I kind of want to revisit it because I haven't watched it in a really long time. And then he reteamed again, but this time not Tim Burton directing, which is always a big how do you do thing. But in the classic Nightmare Before Christmas, he is, I think it's Locke, one of the 3 trick-or-treaters. He's the voice of one of the 3 trick-or-treaters who sings the classic song Kidnap Mr. Sandy Claus, along with Catherine O'Hara and Danny Elfman are the other 2 of the trio. And yes, it's Catherine O'Hara is doing double duty in Nightmare Before Christmas as well. But it's a great role. It is distinctly Paul. You can definitely tell his voice. And he sings, he's not dubbed or anyone else. He actually sings the songs in Nightmare Before, or sings "Kidnap Mr. Sandy Claus," which is really the only song that he sings. But still, it's a classic, and he reteamed with Burton for those 2. He also did a superhero parody kind of movie that came out in 99, I think. I think it's one of my ones coming up in my anniversaries, called Mystery Men with Ben Stiller and William H. Macy, and Hank Azaria and Janine Garofalo. And he played a really bizarre character who I think had superhuman farts or something like that, where his farts would destroy the bad guys. It was a parody sort of superhero group, which is another movie I should probably revisit also because I saw it in the movie theaters once, based on a comic from Dark Horse Comics. I think it's part of the Flaming Carrot universe, and you got Janine Garofalo was the bowler who had her father's skull in her bowling ball, and William H. Macy was the shoveler who used a shovel to fight bad guys, and Ben Stiller was Mr. Anger or something like that. He had anger management issues. Hank Azaria was a mentalist who claimed he could bend spoons, but instead he ends up throwing them. So it's a really interesting cast, really diverse cast, and it's a movie when it came out in '99, I didn't remember I liked it that much. But it's another time maybe I need to do a revisit on that as well. Maybe 2024 be the year of revisits. Maybe I'll revisit Batman Returns, maybe revisit Mystery Man, maybe revisit movies I haven't seen in a while, and maybe let you guys know how those go. If you're watching the show, if you have any movie ideas you think that I might want to revisit, I mean, I can't tell you which ones I haven't seen, but give me some suggestions. I could say, hey, I've seen this one recently, or I haven't seen this one ever, or hey, I need to revisit this, and let you guys know. Could be fun. He was also in more recently what we did in the show. I can't get there yet. In 1992, again, I think anniversary is this week as well. He appeared in the original Buffy the Vampire Slayer movie with Christy Swanson, Luke Perry, Rutger Hauer. He played Rutger Hauer's second-hand man. And Joss Whedon wrote it, didn't direct it though. And Paul Reubens, I think, a little off script for his vampire character, but it's a very good role for him. It's a fun character. He has one of the best lines is, you took my arm, kill him a lot. It's just the way he says it is great. But his obnoxious death scene near the end kind of takes you out of the movie for a second, but it's funny. But it takes you out of the movie though a little bit. And he's also in one of the post-credit scenes that not many movies had back in the early 90s. There's a post-credit scene with him in there as well, which is kind of funny. There's a couple actually post-credit sequences or mid-credit sequences, I should say, or during credit sequences in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the original movie, which is actually entertaining. Donald Sutherland's also in it as well. And Stephen Root, another good, and Oscar winner Hilary Swank is in it also. So you've got, and Ben Affleck makes a really too brief appearance, and his voice was dubbed, which is one of the funniest stories I've ever read. But he's in there, and it's kind of funny. 92, he was in that as well. He also was in Blow, which was the underrated Johnny Depp drug movie. I think Penelope Cruz played his love interest in that one. Ted Demme, I think, directed it. Jonathan Demme's brother directed it. It's actually one of the more, I don't want to say entertaining drug movies, but there were a whole slew of drug movies that came out in the mid to late 90s. I think this was 97, 98 maybe is when Blow came out. So probably later 90s, that a lot of them were these Scarface-y sort of violent sort of drug things. And this one, while had some violence in it, was not overtly violent. It was more along the lines of a character study based on a true story sort of thing, I believe. So he was in that as well. And there's probably a million, I should probably just, take a look at his filmography. I mean, I do this all the time when I'm doing the show, so why not start now? All right, so let's see. He's also, I think I read somewhere, he was Katie Seagal's college roommate or something like that. Had a relation, not a physical love relationship with Katie Seagal, but had a relationship with her, which was kind of interesting. Yeah, we'll get to the rest in a second. Hold on, just need to find. There's filmography. Okay. The Blues Brothers, I talked about that. He was in Cheech and Chong's next movie and in Nice Dreams, so he worked with them a lot as well. He was in Meatballs Part 2. He was a voice in Flay the Navigator. He was in Dustin Checks In, Matilda, Buddy. He was a voice in Beauty and the Beast, The Enchanted Christmas. He was the voice in the Eddie Murphy Dr. Dolittle movie. Blow was 2001. Okay, I thought I was a little off. He was in Reno 9/11, Miami. was in Life During Wartime. He was the voice of Jokey Smurf in the Smurf movies from 2011. Yeah, and so there we go. So that's what he did. TV, let's see. He was in an episode of Mork and Mindy. He had his own TV show, The Pee Wee Herman Show, before Pee Wee's Playhouse. He was Pinocchio in Fairy Tale Theater. He did host Saturday Night Live at one point during his career. The Murphy Brown, he was in that for 2 years, 6 episodes. Nominated for Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Guest Actor in a Comedy Series. What made appearance in Everybody Loves Raymond. Was made appearance in Ally McBeal. Was a voice in Rugrats. Was in Reno 9/11 TV show. Was in 30 Rock for an episode. Was in 2 episodes of Pushing Daisies. Was the voice of Batmite and Batman, the Brave and the Bold cartoon. Played himself in WWE Raw, which they've also been showing. He was on Broadway at one point. He was a voice in Tron Uprising. He was a voice in Robot Chicken. A voice in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, not the most recent one, but the 2014 one. Was a voice in Star Wars Rebels. He was RX-24. That's interesting. He was Batmite again in Lego DC Comics Batman Beleaguered. It was in Phineas and Ferb. Did a voice in that. Did a voice in American Dad. Was in 5 episodes of The Blacklist. Was in an episode of Portlandia. There's the Gotham one he was in 3 times. Did a voice in the Netflix Voltron series. Did a voice in the Legends of Tomorrow series. What We Do in the Shadows, where he basically, that's the other one, What We Do in the Shadows, the vampire show. He reprised his role from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which is interesting. And then he just most recently did a voice in Bob's Burgers, which came out in 2023. So he had himself quite a career. So at the height of his career, well, I mean, at the height of his career, 91. So his Pee Wee Herman career was sort of downsliding a little bit, and he was sort of in a not quite sure where he was mode right now. He got busted in a porn theater. Remember, porn used to be shown on movie theaters in like certain areas of the city, which in ours in Baltimore is one called The Block, where it's all strip clubs and porn theaters and stuff like that. He was busted in a porn theater for jerking his gherkin to a porn movie. And so he got arrested, and I don't think anybody even recognized it was him until they took a picture. He got booked at the police station for indecent exposure, and his mugshot, was posted everywhere once it was revealed that it was him. Now, Pee Wee Herman had been sort of away from the big screen for a while, and from Pee Wee's Playhouse only lasted to like the end of the 80s, something like that. So 91, he was sort of in that in-between area, not knowing what he was planning on doing or whatever. And the people, the pearl-clutching a-hole conservative Republican Karen shitheads screaming about, what about the children? Pee Wee Herman caught jerking it at a porn movie. What does that do for kids? They look up to this guy. He's supposed to be one of their heroes, and he's just a typical porn junkie, blah, blah, blah. Wait a second. Pee Wee Herman is a character. Paul Reubens is a person. Paul Reubens was not dressed as Pee Wee Herman in the porn theater jerking his gherkin. He was not recognized till he went to the police department and got his booking in place, because he had a greasy long black hair. He had a greasy looking what do you call this, the beard thing, goatee, a greasy looking goatee. Didn't look like him at all. But the minute that it got revealed that it was him, that's where all the Karens and the conservative a-hole motherfuckers came out of the woodworks and were screaming, you're killing our kids and blah, blah, blah. Kids could give a rat's ass about it. They probably did. If you wouldn't have said anything, they probably would never have heard that this was the case. It's you who made the big deal about it. If you would just let him have his privacy, your kids would not even know. And what are you worried about anyway? Your kids should be old enough not to, look up to these type of things. They should be looking up to you for your stuff, and not other heroes, sports people or movie people, because they're people just like you. They're allowed to act just like you. They're allowed to jerk their gherkins. They're allowed to vote. They're allowed to express their opinions. They're people just like you and me. Just because they're stars or athletes or whatever, does not make them non-entities that have to follow your guidelines. No, they are people just like you and me, and you need to just stop it. But you guys will not, because you're fucking morons. And I find it absolutely offensive that it went as far as it did. But Paul did his due diligence. He did what he was supposed to do. He was charged with a crime, didn't have any jail time, paid a fine, and then had to do some social work. And then I think he had, he couldn't do that stuff in public, I guess, for 5 years, 10 years, something like that. And he did exactly what he was supposed to do. There were videos of him cleaning up trash in Central Park or whatever, and doing his crime. He did not fight the crime. He did not send a mob to attack the Capitol, terrorist mob trying to kill people, unlike your heroes. Thank you very much. He did his job. He was sentenced. He did what he was supposed to, and he moved on. And he made fun of himself, too, at the MTV Movie Awards. I think he came out a year or so after, or maybe might have been a few months after the event, dressed as Pee Wee Herman. And his first line, everybody was cheering him because most everybody in this country knew that these fucking conservative a-holes were the minority when it comes to this stuff. And when he came out, there was no boos. There was loud cheers and screams and hollers and hoots and "we love you" and all that stuff. And Paul, not missing a beat, asked Pee Wee Herman, says, "Have you heard any good jokes lately?" Because as soon as all that became public, as these things happened, these distasteful jokes started making the rounds, and people thought it was funny. But Paul came out, he owned it, and said, "Have you heard any really funny jokes lately?" In the Pee Wee Herman voice. It's outstanding, and that's how you deal with this stuff. Now, I saw some about a 2001 arrest. I don't know much about that, so let me just see what that one's all about. I don't remember that, to be honest. Let's see. In November 2022, while filming David LaChapelle's video for Elton John's "This Train Don't Stop There Anymore," Reubens learned that police were at his home with a search warrant, acting on a tip from a witness in the pornography case against actor Jeffrey Jones, finding, among other 70,000 items of kitchen memorabilia, 2 grainy videotapes, and dozens of photographs that the city's attorney's office characterized as a collection of child pornography. Kelly Bush, Reubens' personal representative at the time, said the description of the items was inaccurate and stated the objects were Rob Lowe's sex videotape and a few 30 to 100-year-old kitsch collectible images. Reubens turned himself into the Hollywood division of the Los Angeles Police Department, was charged with misdemeanor possession of obscene material and probably depicting a child under the age of 18 in sexual conduct. The district attorney looked at Reubens' collection and computer and found no grounds for bringing any felony charges against him, while the city attorney, Rocky Delgadillo, formally charged Reubens on the last day allowed by statute. Reubens was represented by Hollywood criminal defense lawyer Blair Burke. In December, he pleaded not guilty through Burke, who also complained that the city attorney failed to turn over evidence to the defense, to which city attorney Richard Katz countered that prosecutors were not required to do so until after arraignment. Later evidence was secured by the defense. Neither side disclosed its content. In March 2004, child pornography charges were dropped in exchange for Reubens' guilty plea to a lesser misdemeanor obscenity charge. For the next 3 years, he was required to register his address with the sheriff's office, and he could not be in the company of minors without the permission of their parent or legal guardians. Reubens later stated that he was a collector. Okay, I remember this now. Collector of erotica, including films, muscle magazines, and a sizable collection of mostly homosexual vintage erotica, such as photographic studies of teen nudes. Reubens said that what the city attorney's office viewed as pornography, he considered to be innocent art, and that what they described as people underage engaged in masturbation or oral copulation was, in fact, a judgmental point of view. Reubens described the nude images as people 100% not performing sexual acts. So... yeah, so again, a sexual thing that I kind of remember now when he said he was a collector of erotica. I do kind of remember that now. But again, jumping to conclusions sort of thing, I think it was a little overzealous of them to do that sort of thing. And he should be left alone. Now he can be left alone. Rest in peace, my brother. If I had a drink, I would pour it out, but I decided not to get one this week. And that's my first part of this episode, half-hour talk about Paul Reubens, because Paul Reubens was a big part of my life when I was growing up, and I needed to just sort of let that all out. So thank you for allowing me to do that. So let's get on. So this show is probably going to be longer than an hour, though, but that's okay. because I don't mind. I got nowhere else to go because my wife is picking up my daughter, our daughter, I should say, in about half an hour. So, what's up? Big news here. This really isn't something that usually pops up, but I thought it was kind of interesting because Dan Slott is one of my favorite writers. He's one of the best Spider-Man writers of all time in the comics industry. He's written tons of comics, mostly Marvel, She-Hulk, Fantastic Four, a fantastic run on the Silver Surfer with Mike Allred, and of course his long ass run on Spider-Man, which brought about the multiverse, Spider-Verse stuff and all that stuff. He is engaged to his longtime girlfriend, now fiance. So congratulations and l'chaim to you, because he's Jewish, and he's outstanding. So congratulations. I just thought I'd like to mention it because I like him and I'm a Spider-Man guy. One of the couple Broadway stories I got going on this week is Spam-A-Lot, the Monty Python musical written by Eric. I forget Eric's name. Eric from Monty Python, based on the Monty Python, the Holy Grail, Eric Idle, that he wrote. That was a huge hit back in the early 2000s. My wife and I went to it a couple times. We went once with my sister and brother-in-law, and then once by ourselves, I think, if I recall correctly. It will be returning to Broadway this fall, which is good because it sort of disappeared after a while, and then it had a one-day showing at the Kennedy Center in D.C. back in May, and then that was it. It hasn't been on tour for a long time. It hasn't been back at the Hippodrome in a really long time. But now that it's coming back to Broadway in the fall, that could mean that we could start soon be getting a traveling tour again, which is great. So it'd be great to see that again as well. Barbie crosses $1 billion. It is now the highest grossing film of the year so far. Not yet. I think Mario Brothers still has a little bit of a lead on it, but it is taking down all of Mario Brothers records. So I would not be surprised if I see Barbie surpassing Mario Brothers as the top grossing film of the year, because honestly, with the way the WGA and SAG-AFTRA stuff is going, I don't know if there's any other really majorly huge $1 billion type pictures out there. I'm hoping the Marvel stays in November. That could potentially be one. If Dune sticks around, it could potentially be one as well. But other than that, the Ghostbusters, as I said, has moved on to 2024, which, as I said last week, in retrospect, makes more sense because it'll be the 40th anniversary of Ghostbusters in 2024. So it makes sense to have a sequel come out in the 40th anniversary instead of late December of the year. So we'll see about that. But Barbie has crossed $1 billion. So outstanding to you. If you win the Mega Millions drawing, which is coming up this week, you will have more money than Barbie. It is $1.55 billion jackpot. It is the highest jackpot in Mega Millions history, surpassing the $1.5 billion that hit in 2018. So that might be one that I might have to involve myself in. Now, of course, if you get the lump sum, let me just see if it'll tell you what the lump sum is. You're not going to get $1 billion, but you're going to get quite a lot. Mega Millions payout. Here we go. Okay. Oh, okay. Prices have been too much trade. Okay, so the 1.55 billion prize is for a sole winner who is paid over 30 years through an annuity. Those who opt for a lump sum payout would get an estimated $757.2 million. $757.2 million. But the odds are 1 in 302.6 million. So obviously what draws people to it is the fact that somebody's got to win sometime. So why not me? Holy shit! There's a pitcher's duel, Baltimore, top of the fifth inning, 0-0. It's like, why not me? You know, somebody's got to win it eventually, and probably someone in California, because someone in California has won the last $2 billion jackpots, which is stupid as F. But Maryland has been getting a bunch of the lesser prizes, $1 million here, $500,000 here, so on and so forth. So we'll see what happens. But oh my God, that would be so nice when it's $757.2 million. I was doing calculations in my head, because this is one of the things we always dream big about. Because I haven't bought tickets in a long time, because you're never. I'm come to the point where I'm never going to win. But you just think about it, is that if you think about it, to get debt free, this is what I thought my thoughts were for me personally. For me to get debt free, to set up money for college funds for the kids. Well, we already have college funds for the kids, but to add more to the kids' college funds, to give them a trust, each of them a trust, to put about $1 million aside in a savings account, which I've heard is a good deal, because, you know, you could live on the interest alone. Even if you lose all your money or you spend all your money, whatever, you can still live the life you want with the interest from the $1 million in a savings account, giving away stuff to charity, family, stuff like that. And then the other thing I want to do is I want to buy a plot of land and design a house and build the house. That would be the perfect house for my family. So I started thinking about all that. And if you combine all that together for roughly, I think it was around like $20 million, and the majority of that going to the parcel of land and the building of the house, I could be done everything I wanted to do with the money. So that leaves $737.2 million left. It's unfathomable. Now, obviously, you're going to have to pay a walloping amount of that for taxes. I mean, we're talking probably you're going to end up that you're physically going to have probably close to $500 to $400 million. But still, with only about a $20 million payout for all that stuff that I wanted to do, that's still, if it's $400 million, it's $380 million left over. Awesome. Dreams, not going to happen. It might. It's not going to happen. Though, if you do happen to find a Magic the Gathering One Ring card, you can sell it to Post Malone for $2.6 million, which is what this card collector did, and got himself quite a fortune out of that. So that's fantastic on that. Some anniversaries this week. The Fugitive, one of the best action films of all time, is hitting its 30th anniversary this week. And Risky Business, a movie that sort of started Tom Cruise on his way, is celebrating its 40th anniversary this week as well. May as well stick with the anniversaries. Death in the Family, the Batman comic that killed off Jason Todd Robin via a 1-800 number, or 1-900 number, I should say. I do admit I did call. I wanted him killed because Jim Starlin wrote him as an irritating little son of a bitch. That storyline came out 35 years ago this week. I should say actually this month, August. So it spread itself through this whole month, I think. It was like weekly, if I recall correctly. But regardless, it is moot point anyway, because he has been resurrected, as you do in comics. And, now, but that still was at the time was a major event. And there it is. The Suicide Squad, James Gunn's version of the Suicide Squad, came out 2 years ago this week. Mystery Men, the Paul Reubens movie I talked a little bit about for half an hour there, came out 24 years ago this week, which was 1999. The Sixth Sense also came out the same weekend as the Suicide Squad. Not Suicide Squad, as Mystery Men, also 24 years ago. The Sixth Sense probably destroyed it at the box office, since it was a huge box office hit. Fright Night, one of the best horror vampire movies out there, debuted in 1985. So that puts you at 38 years ago. And The Lost Boys, Kiefer Sutherland Corey's movie. And Alex Winter from Bill and Ted is in it as well. Came out in 1987. It was directed by Joel Schumacher, actually, of all people. 1987. So that makes it the, 40th, 39, 38, 37, 36th anniversary of The Lost Boys there. So saw it for your anniversary. Oh, no. And then August 6th, 1945. This isn't a good bit of history, but the bomb was dropped on Hiroshima on August 6, 1945, which is covered in the Oppenheimer movie and is what caused Oppenheimer to rethink his priorities, as it were. So that makes it 45, 45, 55, 65, 75, 85, 95, 2005, 2015, 2025, 80, 78 years ago. It happened. So, and the Oppenheimer movie is still a sore spot for Japanese audiences, which is understandable too. Other deaths that happened this week, Ken Suarez, Major League Baseball catcher, died at the age of 80. And John Floyd, comic book inker who worked with Barry Windsor Smith a lot, died at the age of 61. And Mark Margolis, Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul actor, died this week as well. Scream 7 is in pre-production. Obviously, you can't do anything until the strikes are over, but there's going to be a Scream 7 due to the popularity of Scream 6. The directors of the last two Screams, Scream 5 and Scream 6, will not be returning for Scream 7 because once all this stuff is taken care of, they're going to be working on their big monster movie that they're doing for Blumhouse, I think. So in steps, wait a second, where is that? I just lost my place. There it is. In steps Christopher Landon, who was a director of Happy Death Day and Freaky, which were two really good Blumhouse low-budget horror films. And it should be interesting to see where he decides to go with this new version of Scream, if they're trying for another trilogy, or if he's just going to start his own standalone story, which would be kind of interesting. Maybe sort of an interlude in between to focus on some other aspect of the Scream story and not necessarily with the cast that you had for 5 and 6. Now, that would be a little awkward because Jenna Ortega is having a moment with Wednesday and the Scream movie. So to not include her in this might be considered as blasphemy, because she's a draw. But I think it might be interesting to see, since you do have a new director and want to take it maybe in a new direction to see how he does stuff, because Happy Death Day and Freaky have that sort of comedic, not comedic, but it's kind of it's not a full-on sort of horror thing. He's actually probably the best sort of director to sort of meld the way Scream is, because Scream was sort of like that, it's sort of that sort of horror comedy sort of mix, not really comedy so much, but there were bits in those movies that helped give it its character, and this might be interesting to see. So that'll be interesting to see what happens with that. But again, all this is moot, will not happen until after SAG-AFTRA and the Writers Guild strikes are taken care of. So we'll see what happens with that. What the hell? Guys, always one thing. Oh, on a personal note, this past Friday, I broke a record at my work for scanning of 314 boxes. Now, to be fair, 165 of them I sort of cheated a little bit on, but still it was a record-breaking day for us, and I want to thank everybody who helped out in shipping and packing. That made a great success. So fantastic on that end. Here's another Broadway thing. Broadway has set its premiere for The Notebook, the Broadway show based on, yes, the romantic comedy, not really comedy, romance film, I should say, for March of 2024. So that'll be coming to Broadway as well. So that's good. Lin-Manuel Miranda has chosen his next project. He will be tackling a musical version of the cult classic 1980s film, The Warriors. Warriors, come out and play. It's basically about two violent gangs who like to fight each other. I I don't know if he's going to set it in the 80s to make it kind of an 80s centric sort of musical. That would make, to me, the most obvious sense because the characters of the Warriors have those distinct vest color things on, and should be interesting to see where he goes with this. So, but it takes a while to create a Broadway musical, so I would assume we're probably not going to hear anything about this probably till 2025 at the earliest, maybe. He's just, because basically what he's got to do is he's got to write the script, he's got to write the musical numbers, he's got to figure out the choreography, he's got to audition actors, he's got to get the sets built, he's got to do the show, test it out, see what works, what doesn't work for about a year, running it around different locations, and get feedback from these areas before he drops it off to Broadway. So we're looking probably at a 2025, 2026 window for the Warriors coming to Broadway. But it is Lin-Manuel Miranda, and we'll see what happens with that. Now, something that sort of made me do a double take was this movie appears to be slotting to be actually kind of a big deal this fall. It's still set for this fall. It's going to be coming out in October. Perfect, because it's a horror movie based on a video game. The Five Nights at Freddy's movie with Matthew Lillard and Josh Hutcherson. Trailer came out a couple weeks ago. Talked about that a little bit. Is now rumored to be a 3-hour-long film. Now, obviously, the director hasn't finalized the final cut, but a 3-hour horror film based on a video game. It's not really for children, but honestly, children are the ones that really play it, is kind of an intriguing idea. In the end, I don't think it's going to be 3 hours, but the fact that he has enough material for a 3-hour movie is actually quite fascinating, to be honest. So yeah. Spider-Man Day was August 1st. And what's the name of the Bones Coffee, which is a niche little coffee group that does a lot of online sales. They do lots of specialized, pop culture-y sort of coffees, similar to kind of what I'd like to do with my pop culture coffee shop. And Bones might be a good one to join in. There's also Geek Grinds is another one that does these sort of things. But they have released a Spider-Man coffee, which for some weird reason is a marshmallow treat flavored coffee. Now that's good because one of my favorite coffee creamers is the Rice Krispies marshmallow treat one that I think International Flavors does. It's actually really, really good. It's very tasty, but to have a whole coffee based around that and have Spider-Man be the namesake for it is a little bit odd to me, but at the same time, still interesting. So I wouldn't mind trying that to see what it tastes like, but it is a Spider-Man coffee. It's kind of cool. Memoirs and books, all kinds of really cool stuff is upcoming this fall. There's a ton of really good stuff coming out this fall, book-wise, stuff that interests me. We just got an announcement of something that's going to come in early 2024. It just was announced this week. Actually, it was announced today. Actually, Billy D. Williams, yes, Lando Calrissian himself, Harvey Dent from the Tim Burton Batman movie, Colt 45 spokesperson, will be writing a memoir. Or is writing one right now, as I say, called "What Have We Here," which is one of his favorite lines. Is due out on February 2024. So that could be I'm a big fan of memoirs. I love reading memoirs, and the fact that Billy D is going to be writing one is going to be jumping on my list of books in 2024 to get. So I would probably put it on my list of stuff I have on Amazon. I have a ton of books because there's a ton of books coming out. This year still to come this fall. That's of my interest, but we've got the 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi was this week, so they do a collection of 40 short stories that talk about behind the scene, the characters that are in the background or whatever. And there's a Star Wars one and Empire one. I've read the Star Wars one. It was brilliant. I'm reading the Empire one. It's entertaining. And the Return of the Jedi one comes out the end of this month, actually. So let me see, what else do we have here? As I said, How the Grinch Lost Christmas is coming out in September. Whale Fall, which we'll talk about in a little bit, is due out next week, actually. Oh, I might have to get that. or I'm sorry, not next week, is out on Tuesday. I might have to get that. We'll talk about Whale Fall in a second. I didn't know they made a graphic novel based on David Simon's Homicide, which was a year in the life of a Baltimore homicide detective, but they did. The animated first part came out already. The second part is due out in December of this year. Next year, probably around the same time that Billy D's book is coming out, is a new Jack the Ripper book by writer Sarah Bax Horton. So that's on my list. The MCU, The Reign of Marvel Studios, is due out October 10th, 2023. And what else do we have here? Still looking through my list here. I know Patrick Stewart has his memoir coming out in October as well. So that'll be rolling through here in October. That's going to be entertaining to read as well. Where are you? Sorry, I'm going to find my stuff here. Starter Villain, John Scalzi's new book, set to debut September 19th. That's a good one. There's some history books coming up here. I like the history stuff. Oh, the Surely You Can't Be Serious, The True Story of Airplane, the behind-the-scenes book about Airplane, is due out October 3rd. Astro City Metro book. Astro City is one of my favorite comic books. The Compendium collection, volume 4, is due out in September. There's Patrick Stewart's ones. Becoming the Boogeyman by Richard Chismar is a sequel to The Boogeyman, which is a faux true crime thing set in Maryland. He has the sequel coming out October 10th. Tom Clavin has written a number of books about the Wild West. His last one, part of this series that he's been doing called The Last Outlaws, The Desperate Final Days of the Dalton Gang, is due out in November. One of my favorite adult graphic novels, Sunstone, has a brand new volume coming out. Volume 8 is due out in November by Stefan Sejic. And he also has his Fine Print, Volume 2, coming out in December, which is another phenomenal adults-only graphic novel. And Death in the Dark Woods, a sequel to the classic Annalise Ryan Monster Hunter Mysteries, is due out December 2023 as well. So that's all stuff that's just coming out this year. And as I said, we've got that Jack the Ripper book coming out the same year, or same month as the Billy D one. So we've got a lot of good stuff coming out book-wise over the next 6 to 8 months. So keep an eye on that, and that's just for now. Emily Blunt wants to do an Edge of Tomorrow sequel, which is a film she did with Tom Cruise. She's dying to do that, so we'll see if that actually becomes a thing. Twilight of the Dead is going to end George Romero's Living Dead franchise. He's the guy who created the whole zombie craziness and has directed a number of movies in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And then I think he did one in the 2000s, but then he passed away. And this is like the final one in his series that will not be directed him, obviously, because he's dead, but is based on his story, so that'll be good to finish that up. Elemental, the surprise Pixar movie of the year that everybody was going to say shows that Disney's failing, is actually failing upwards by actually becoming a pretty damn good movie and making a good shit ton of money as well. A lot more than was expected, and is probably the highest grossing Pixar Disney animated film in a while. Will be set for its Blu-ray debut on September 26, 2023. No word yet when it's due out on Disney Plus, but I would assume it'll follow sort of similar to what Guardians of the Galaxy and Ant-Man did, which is Guardians of the Galaxy just came out in August. So it came out in May. So June, July, August, 3-month window. So let's just say Elemental came out in June. So June, July, August. Look forward in a September, October window for Elemental to show up on. It'll probably be after the Blu-ray. So I would assume, actually, it would probably be right after the Blu-ray, because Guardians of the Galaxy 3 came out on Blu-ray August 1st, which is a Tuesday, came out on Disney Plus on August 2nd. So they might continue with that. So as I said, it's about a 3-month window. So I would not be surprised if Disney Plus says Elemental's on Disney Plus on September 27th. The Blu-ray comes out the 26th. So we'll see. It is available on other streaming services within, I think, this upcoming Wednesday. You'll be able to see it on, like, if you go to Amazon, you can buy it on Amazon, but it will not be free. You'll have to buy it to stream it if you want to, but it will be available as a digital purchase, but you'll be able to watch it unless you want to wait for the end of September, which really, to be honest, ain't that far away if you think about it. Disney also is launching Marvel crime novels. a series of novels featuring their more street level characters. The first three are going to be one about Daredevil, one about Luke Cage, and one about Jessica Jones. We'll see if they continue, if they do seconds and thirds and fourths of those, or if they find some other street style sort of characters to create novels about. So we'll see about that. FX, their Shogun series, which I think is a new version of the James Clavell novel, is due to come out in 2024. I didn't know that was even a thing, but I saw that and I was like, oh, okay. Studio Ghibli to release perfumes that are based on their popular characters. Crayola Crayons is planning multiple movies and TV series. I'm not sure how that's going to work, but I'm not one to say anything, so here we go. Uno Dare, the adults-only version, is coming out here soon. It's from the creators of Uno, which is Mattel, which does the Barbie stuff. It's a regular Uno game, but instead of just a regular Uno card, you're also going to have dares involved. I think there is a family version as well, but there is an adults-only version which has 2 levels of dare questions. One are not so hot and one is hot. Like one is like stand up and moo like a cow. And then the hot ones are stand up and spank the person of your choice or whatever. I don't know if it's going to get down to doing sexual acts, but it's going to be more of a grown-up sort of game that you do not want to play with your kids. But that is something that will be coming out here shortly. Michael B. Jordan starred as Tom Clancy's one of Tom Clancy's characters, John Clark, in Without Remorse. It was a hit on either Prime or Netflix. Can't remember which one it was. I think it was Prime, actually. And it did very well that John Clark, Michael B. Jordan has signed on to reprise his role as John Clark in a movie adaptation of Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six, which has been trying to get made into a movie for years, but they've never been able to find a John Clark. Now, Without Remorse, if you remember the character John Clark, he made his first cinematic appearance in 1993's 92, no, it was 94, maybe 94. It might have been 94. It's Clear and Present Danger. And he was played by Willem Dafoe there. Then Without Remorse popped up, and in the late 90s, they were thinking that he'd get Gary Sinise to play the role of younger John Clark because Willem Dafoe was too old at that point, because Without Remorse takes place in a younger version of John Clark. So they thought Gary Sinise would be perfect for that role, and then he could continue on to that. And then Tom Clancy just sort of fell off the map when it came to movie adaptations. And then they started bringing back a little bit with the John Krasinski show based on his character, the main character from Hunt for October, Jack Ryan, stuff like that. But then Michael B. Jordan did Without Remorse, which did very well. So he will be signed on to Rainbow Six, which I think they say is going to be released in theaters first before it comes to streaming service. So if you haven't seen Without Remorse yet, you'll be okay to go in and see Rainbow Six like that. But it'd be nice to see a Tom Clancy adaptation again. Though I still think Krasinski was, if you had to reboot the Tom Clancy franchise, Krasinski should continue on as his role as Jack Ryan, but do the movies next. Hunt for October, Patriot Games, Clear and Present Danger, all those. There's a whole ton of them out there. It would be fun to watch Krasinski grow into the role as well, and he did so well in the 4 to 5 seasons that they had on Prime there. Speaking of trailers, Loki Season 2 trailer finally dropped this week. October 6th is when it's due out, and the trailer is phenomenal. A lot of people's complaints about Loki Season 1 was that it seemed very talky, very slow, though it had good chemistry between the leads. It just seemed like it was just kind of it was there, not one of the best, but not shitty at the same time, just sort of there. Well, apparently their budget was doubled to what it was, so they're able to do a lot more things. And we had the teaser at the end of Ant-Man 3 that is going to lead into Loki 2, and now we get the first trailer for it, which shows a much higher staked. Bye, babe, love you. Much more higher staked She didn't hear me. She never hears me. She's leaving to get our daughter now. Much bigger, higher stakes, more action-oriented, time travel-oriented, more Loki and Owen Wilson together, Tom Hiddleston, Owen Wilson, who had great chemistry together, and also, Tom with Sophie, who was also really good too, their chemistry too. So we see more of them. We also get Key, who played Short Round and won the Oscar for Key Hui Hong or something like that. I keep forgetting his name, but I just call him Key because he's the popular thing. He showed his character as well, so he gets a shout out in the trailer as well. So he's gonna be a big role, and it looks outstanding. It looks fantastic, and I cannot wait for it. I'm excited, and it broke an MCU trailer record by scoring 80 million hits in 24 hours. So people are dying to see Loki. So people who are saying that Marvel Cinematic Universe is dead, you can just fuck right off. Speaking of trailers, this one made me laugh my ass off. Speaking of Everything Everywhere All at Once, A24, which is one of the only cinematic theater distribution companies that agreed to everything SAG-AFTRA wanted, so they can continue, and I guess the WGA as well, they can continue making movies now because they have the okay from SAG-AFTRA and the WGA to continue making movies. They're releasing a movie later this year called Dix the Musical. And the trailer came out this week, and it is freaking hilarious. Nathan Lane, Megan Mullally, Megan the Stallion, Bowen Yang, Josh Sharp, Aaron Jackson. It's basically a musical version of The Parent Trap, but instead of it being two young female girls trying to get their parents back together, it's two adult males who are assholes with big dicks, who know each other. They're salesmen. They work for the same company. They discover that they are long lost twin brothers, and they try to get their parents back together, much like in the Parent Trap thing. But there's a lot more going on to that. It is a freaking hilarious trailer. It is brutally adult, F-word, drop casually left and right. The songs are kind of entertaining. They're very Book of Mormon-ish sort of songs. There's one about jerking off, which is hilarious, and it just looks outstanding. Nathan Lane plays, is the dad, but he's also gay, so that's really good. And he's got these weird little creatures that show up the it just is like, what the hell is this thing? It looks freaking hilarious. Megan Thee Stallion looks like she's gonna kick some ass, and it just looks outstanding. And you have to check it out. Dix the Musical. I think it's only Red Band trailer available now, so it's NSFW, not safe for work. But watch it. It's fucking hilarious. I want to see it now. So it's outstanding. Gal Gadot once what's his name? James Gunn and Safran came in to run the DCU. And they kicked out Henry Cavill, which I'm okay with, and Ben Affleck, which I'm really okay with, and are going to start over sort of fresh. There have been talk that they don't know what they're going to do with Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman, who's been one of the more successful film versions of the DC character that a lot of people actually enjoy more and don't have the stench of Zack Snyder on it as much. Because Patty Jenkins made sure that shit wasn't going to fly with her. But there are rumors that she wasn't going to return either, since the other members of the big three weren't coming back either. Well, that has been dispelled, so all you DCU haters can go fuck yourselves also. Or rather, not DCU haters. People who hate on James Gunn, I should say. You can go fuck yourselves also. You Zack Snyder shithead wannabe motherfucker toxic assholes. Gal Gadot is developing Wonder Woman 3 with Gunn and Safran, so it's going to be part of their world. They've already announced an Amazon TV show. So as I was talking to my friend Gary about, it's like, if they were smart, they would do a lot of stuff. The Amazon show is going to be based in the past. It's a prequel for the most part to Wonder Woman, about the rise of the Amazons and how they came to be. What you can do is you can set some story beats in the Amazon TV show that you can have spread out and enter into the Wonder Woman 3 movie if you want to keep that cohesive attachment, same universe sort of thing. I think if you want to do something really well, that would be a really good idea. Now, no word yet if Patty Jenkins would come back. I think you need to do it with Patty Jenkins. because she's already done it 2 times. Let her finish up her third, the trilogy or whatever. And then if you want, you can go on to a different story, a different direction if you want, but keep Gal Gadot. But she is involved. There will be a Wonder Woman movie once all this WGA, SAG-AFTRA stuff gets handled. There will be a Wonder Woman 3 rolling out here. Again, as I said, who knows when. Probably won't be, if let's just say the strikes ended today, those movies probably would not hit till 2026 at the earliest, probably maybe 2025 if you're lucky, but I highly doubt it because they're going to have a backlog of stuff they're going to have to cover and take care of before they get to newer stuff. But we'll see. But she is presently, Gal Gadot is in discussions, in talks with developing Wonder Woman 3 with Gunn and Safran. So she will be a part of the Gunn universe, Gunn Safran universe. I should say, can't forget Safran. He's in there too. So, F you fucking Zack Snyder shithead toxic bitches. There's a little sports ball here. The Big Ten, which is a massive college sporting group that University of Maryland, which is my local team here, has entered a few years ago. Actually, it's been probably close to 10 years by now. Has just added 2 more teams. Oregon and Washington State have joined the Big Ten. They are leaving the Pac-12, which has now been reduced from 12 teams to about 5 because other members of the Pac-12 are also joining the Big 12. And the main reason why is because the Big 10, the Big 12, and the SEC are the 3 major college football powerhouses in the United States. So they're the ones that get all the coverage. They're the ones that get all the money. They're the ones that get the most members of their teammates going to the NFL and getting big payouts. The ACC is sort of hanging on with the thread, but it might be losing Clemson and a few others as well. And the Pac-12 has now got to figure out a way to how they're going to do stuff. And there's a whole bunch of other really smaller ones that are still going to exist. And they're going to exist because they're smaller level Division I schools and stuff like that. That you're not going to really Division III schools, I should say. Division I are the big ones, like the SEC ones, but Division III are like the smaller ones that are not going to go like the Patriot League. They're not going to automatically say, "Oh, we're going to join the Big Ten." No, you're not. You don't have the talent for it, and besides, you're not going to anyway because you don't want to. You have your own little division, and you don't have the same sort of quality of players because they're going to go to the Big 10 schools or the Big 12 schools or the SEC schools, which gives them more exposure, which gives them a better chance of being drafted in the NFL and a better chance of making millions and millions of dollars. So, Patriot Leagues and stuff like that are the ones where kids who want to play football but are not good enough to go to the Alabamas or the SEC schools or the Big 10, Big 12 schools can have a chance to play football and do what they love while they're educating themselves. So, and I'm okay with that. So we'll see. I'm not so sure about all these big, massive powerhouse divisions, but I'm not the biggest college football fan anyway. Everybody loves college football on Saturdays. I very rarely watch college football, if at all. I watch some of the bowl games because it's just something to watch during New Year's Eve and stuff like that. And I pay attention. I read stuff and I follow through with stuff, but I really don't care. So we'll see what happens. A Jupiter-sized exoplanet has formed around a tiny star, and astronomers have no idea how that happened. How a tiny star is able to form a massive Jupiter giant, because remember, our sun is much bigger than Jupiter. So that makes sense how Jupiter and Saturn and Uranus and Neptune could all form in our solar system because the sun is huge. This is a itty bitty star where a massive planet has formed. So they're trying to figure that out as well. So science keeps changing. They keep learning new things, and it's pretty interesting. As I've been saying last week, and I'm going to keep saying now because we're starting to get to the tail end of it, August 6th right now. Fall is coming. It's making its presence felt all over the place. And we're starting to get more Halloween news. And this is the first real interesting Halloween news that there have been a lot of interesting Halloween news, but this is something that I might have to look into. Spirit Halloween, which is, of course, those pop-up Halloween shops that pop up probably starting in September and roll through early November when they get rid of all their stock at like 75% off and stuff like that for people who want to get prepped for next year's Halloween celebration. Hopefully, real quick, a sidebar, there is an empty shop, big shop It was a former Office Depot, which went out of business, which is literally about 5 minutes from my house via car. Maybe a Spirit Halloween might like to pop into that one because it's a big enough spot that you could fit everything you need to in there. I think it'd be the absolute perfect spot for a Spirit Halloween. It's got a big parking lot. It's part of a shopping center. It's easy to access. And it's right down the street from Reisterstown. And it's also right down the street from Owings Mills also. Now, the only other Spirit Halloween that I know of is the one I went to last year, and I don't know if that's still going to happen. That's down at Valley Center, which is a good 15 minutes away from the house. I'd still go. I mean, that's where I got a lot. That's where I got my son's costume last year and some stuff as well for my costume last year. And if Spirit Halloween doesn't take over the Office Depot, which they should, if they don't, I'll go down to Office Depot if that place is still going to be open as well to get my Spirit Halloween fix, because there really is no other one near. I see there's one way up in Westminster, but it's part of a shitty mall now that I don't even want to go to anymore, filled with Trumper fans, and Yankee Candle's gone, and the bookstore's gone, and there's a GameStop, but I have GameStop right down the street here, so I don't need to go to that to get GameStop stuff. So Yankee Candle was really my draw for that. It's gone now, so there is no reason. There's a movie theater there too, but I got movie theaters in the area, so it doesn't matter. So we'll see. But they're going to release a 6'5", my size, foot tall Mars Attacks Martian animatronic. And it looks freaking awesome. And I want it. It's the same size as me. And it's a Martian from Mars Attacks, which is outstanding because it's a great design. And it's animatronic. It's probably going to cost like $200. But I want to see it, and I want to see what it looks like. It will be at Spirit Halloween starting this year. So once I get a whiff that there's a Spirit Halloween opening up anytime soon, I might go early to check out stuff. Because right now, for Halloween, I got two ideas. One, I think I want to dye my hair bright blonde and be Ken from the Barbie movie. That's a possibility. And the other one is I want to do one of these. I just had it in my head. Not cyberpunk. Steampunk, sort of a steampunk sort of character. And the Spirit Halloween last year I went to had a whole steampunk section, which had some really cool looking costumes. So those are going to be the two things. So I want to go to Spirit Halloween. I want to see what this 6'5" tall Mars Attacks Martian is going to look like as animatronics and how much it's going to cost. And it's exciting me. And I'm hoping, please move into Office Depot. It's a big building. It's big. It's going to give you plenty of room for storage and for letting everything out there. And you have your cash wraps. And it has a great parking lot. And it's a part of a shopping center. And it's easy to get to. It's not hard to get to. And you're right on the road, so you can have a sign put up so people know you're there. You put a big banner that says you're there, and then they can ride past it and then ride into it, and there you are. Do it. Finally, the last one on this page was an interesting viral experiment that came out. Video came out this week of people who think that the China Zoo, that's what they call it, that there's a bear at the China Zoo, which they believe is actually a man in a bear costume, because the video has the bear standing on its hind legs and waving at people. And from the back, it looks like there's creases, like he's wearing a baggy suit. But if you look at the video, it is a real bear that is out in the wild. And there are bears that have been known to stand on their hind legs. They do it a lot. And there are some that wave their hands. They're not stupid. Bears are really not stupid. I believe it's a real bear, but everybody is unbelieving because it's China, and they all hate China for whatever reason. Yes, it's communist, sure, but still, I'm not going to get there. But that was the big discussion this week. Is it a real bear or is it a fake bear? And I just got to think about, my God, really? Speaking of crazy stuff, Slaughterhouse, the sloth horror film I told you about a couple weeks ago, finally released its first trailer, and it's another good one. Due out August 30th in theaters, it says. So Slaughterhouse is going to be available in theaters. That's like, really? It looks funny as hell, but we'll see. But you get a general idea of what the story is going to be about. Basically, a woman buys a illegally captured sloth because he's cute and adorable, and sloths, are very slow and stuff like that. But this sloth is an alpha, and he is smart, and he has his big giant claws, and he attacks people. I think the one scene has a woman in the bathroom getting ready to take a shower, and she starts hearing a noise in the shower, and the shower curtain is moving, and she opens the shower curtain, and there's the sloth, and he takes the loofah and like jams it in her mouth or something like that. It's fucking hilarious. It looks outstanding. Speaking, I talked about the Spirit Halloween thing. A new inflatable Michael Myers decorations that can go anywhere between an 8 feet tall one or a 25 feet one are going to be coming out here soon. So I talked about the 25-foot tall Mike Myers, which again would be probably about the same size as my house. Actually, I think my house is taller, but still would be like about halfway the size of my house, really. And you could also get an 8-foot tall one, which is about a normal size. If you have a small yard like we do, would be a normal size one. But there are going to be Mike Myers inflatables available at different sizes for this Halloween as well. This week of the movies. Earlier this week, there's a movie company that says, "Hey, what's your prediction for who's going to make the biggest money of the biggest amount of money of the movies that are coming out this week?" And the two movies that came out this week were Meg 2, which is the sequel to the Jason Statham giant Megalodon movie, and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem animated film produced and written by Seth Rogen. And everyone, they did like a typical on Twitter. It's not X, it's Twitter. Did a poll on Twitter, and they said, "Who do you think is going to be the top making film this week?" And everybody was picking Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I picked Meg 2. Guess what? I was right. Meg 2 made $30 million, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem made $28 million. On top of that, Barbie continues to rake in the money, number 1 this week with $53 million, and Oppenheimer was number 3 with 29 something. So again, we had 4 movies in the top 5, which made all around $20 million, $25 million, which is signs that a healthy box office is coming back a little bit. So that's good for them. So we'll see how that goes with the fall. Though, because of all this stuff that's going on with the strike, stuff like that, all the big money movies that people think would make a lot of money this year have all being pushed to 2024 now, with more potentially going in that direction too. Now, there's still going to be some that are going to come out. I don't know if Killers of the Flower Moon, which is Scorsese's new film with De Niro and DiCaprio, which looks good and it looks like Oscar bait, but it's also almost a 4-hour movie. I don't know if it's going to make a ton of money. I don't think it's going to be an Oppenheimer style successful hit. I think it'll make some money, but I think it's going to make a ton of money. So we got that. Dune, as I said, Dune 2 and the Marvels are still lingering around, but there's potential discussions that they're going to be moved to next year. I think that'd be mistakes. I think you could make some money off of those two. Disney has a new movie coming out around Thanksgiving. I think there's a lot more to it. Again, I'm going to have to do more research because I am going to do, despite the fact that a lot of fall movies are moving to next year now, I am going to do a fall film first look sometime, probably Labor Day weekend, to see what is going to be your fall movies of choice. Now, I figure I'd wait till Labor Day to see what other movies are going to be shifted to 2024 before I make my decisions, because there's one that I'm going to talk about here in a little bit that is been shifted also. Here's another Halloween one. Light up your lawn with a Mickey Mouse jack-o'-lantern. It's a new plastic Mickey Mouse with a sort of orange sort of top hat sort of thing, looking like a pumpkin sort of thing. So you got that coming out too. Plus, I went to Weiss, my local grocery store here this week, and their Halloween candy is finally out. I was also at Safeway this weekend. Their Halloween section is out as well. So Halloween candy is now available at your local grocery store. Target still has their school supplies and back to school stuff going on, but I would assume within the next few weeks, as we get closer to the beginning of the school year here in the Eastern Seaboard, you're probably going to see a lot of that getting phased out and more Halloween stuff rolling in there really soon too. Skydance Films is developing a new Mike Hammer movie based on the Mickey Spillane pulp novels. That could be interesting sort of take. We need to get back to some of this 1940s, 50s sort of noirish type of movie. So that'll be kind of cool if that actually happens. Football is back, baby. The Hall of Fame game, the first preseason game of the year, was this past Thursday. It had the Browns beating the Jets 21-16. The actual real preseason football season starts this upcoming weekend. The Ravens have their first game on Saturday, I believe. So that's pretty cool about that. It's only, since preseason is now only 3 weeks since they added a game to the regular season. And the Ravens, because they added a game, it makes an odd number of games now. So they alternate every year where one team has 9 home games and 8 away games. And then next year it goes 9 away games and 8 home games. It goes back and forth. Last year, the Ravens had 9 away games and 8 home games, but they had 2 preseason games at home and 1 away. So now this year they have 9 home games and 8 away games. So they have 2 away preseason games and 1 home game. I think the home game is not this week. I don't think it's next week. It might be this week because I know we play Washington the following week. And then I think we go to Los Angeles or something for the final one. So we'll see what happens. There's that. Plus the Detroit Lions, who had a wonderful breakout season last year, missed the playoffs by that much. Thanks to fucking Aaron Rodgers being a dick. They are showing signs that the Lions are on the other side of things. They used to be one of the worst teams in football. They now appear to be growing to be one of the best teams in football. They have a good coach. They've got a good scheme in place. And hopefully it'll work for them because I like the Lions. I've always liked the Lions, even when they've been shitty. It's not like I root for them when they're playing other teams. I always cheer for them. I hope that they win. But I'm not like a massive, huge fan. I always like seeing them play on Thanksgiving because that's one of the reasons why I like Thanksgiving. But for the first time in their Ford Field, which is their new stadium era, they have sold out all of their season tickets, which is outstanding. So hopefully their team can build on what they've been doing over the last few years, getting better and better after being some of the worst teams in football history. And hopefully they will make it to the playoffs this year now that Aaron Rodgers has moved on to the Jets, where he's going to stink up the joint there as well. Despite the fact they think he's going to be the second coming. He's not. He's done. He's over. He should be retired, but we're not going to go that far. But I think if you look at the NFC North, the Lions really are the creme de la creme because the Bears did okay. They did a bunch of stuff in the offseason. They drafted pretty good, but I don't think they have enough to break the Lions' hold on things. The Packers, we'll see what happens. We don't know about Jordan Love. We've seen very little from him, so we don't know what's going on with him. And then who's the other team? I always want to say Tampa because that's the way it used to be. Oh, Minnesota. Minnesota is always one of those that they'll hang around for a while, but something usually happens and they tend to drop off here. So we'll see what happens. But should be a fun year for the Lions as well. See any other football stuff on this page? Nope. That's what I'm talking about. Whale Fall. So when I was talking about all of the books that are coming out, I didn't know that was coming out. I might have to buy that as well. Get that in here so I can read it on Tuesday. Whale Fall is the next big thing. There was a book that came out not too long ago from a writer that also has like a survival water sort of thing. And that got optioned for a film. Actually, there's a trilogy of movies and they've optioned all of them, I think, because it's like what you expect from movie things. So Whale Fall is the new book coming out. I don't know who the writer is top of my head. I can probably find out, but I'm not going to because I'm running out of time. Whale Fall is a movie where a diver accidentally gets swallowed by a whale and has to survive for an hour in the whale or something like that before he gets digested or something like that, and how he escapes, stuff like that. So they're comparing it to sort of like the Martian, sort of a survival sort of thing, and before he runs out of air sort of thing. It's an hour left in there, and before he runs out of air and gets digested and stuff like that. So it's going to be a solo film about a guy inside a whale, which is an interesting idea and could be an intriguing read. So that's why I think I want to pick it up here. I didn't know it was coming out on Tuesday. So the novel's coming out on Tuesday, but the film has been optioned. I don't know who optioned it, but they did option it. So it is going to be made to a film eventually. Again, SAG-AFTRA, WGA strikes are going to hold that up, which is fine because they deserve everything that they're asking for. But we're not going to see that in the near future. But it might be fun if you want to see what potentially could be coming down the pike, which is what I did with The Martian. I read the book first, and then I watched the movie. I loved the movie, and the book was entertaining as well. So that'd be fun to see that. So Whale Fall comes out on Tuesday at your local bookstores. Go to Barnes & Noble. If there's Barnes & Noble near you or any other local bookstores in your area, hit those first. If you don't find them there, which you should, get them from Amazon or whatever. So maybe I'll wait. Maybe I won't order mine from Amazon. Maybe I'll head over to Barnes & Noble on Tuesday. I'll pick it up from Barnes & Noble because I want to keep Barnes & Noble in business as well. Now, the only problem with that is it's about 20 minutes from my house. Coming back from work, I can probably hit it because I just go past the exit I usually go to and take the next exit. That'll take me really close to it, but then it's a 20-minute wait back home. But that might be a way to help out Barnes & Noble. But Whale Fall is due out on Tuesday in bookstores and on Amazon. And the movie will be out eventually, but they have been optioned for a film. So should be good. More sports ball stuff. Baltimore Orioles, my baseball team. Speaking of which, let's see if they're still in a scoreless pitcher's duel. Usually these pitcher duels don't turn out too well for us. Oh, no. Middle of the eighth inning, the Orioles are up 2-0. So that's good. We're about ready. Hopefully, if we can hold on, we can sweep the New York Mets and continue our dominance. It'll be our 70th win of the year, which is going to be outstanding if that continues. So good on that. So my team, the Orioles, the trading deadline I thought it was going to be July 31st, but it wasn't. Someone corrected me when I made a comment about that. It's actually August 1st. And 4:30 rolled around, and there was no news about the Orioles, so I thought they didn't do anything. Well, they did one thing. They traded some lesser versions of their prospects, none of the really big, high-class ones. I think that's one of the reasons why they didn't. That was the only thing, the move they made, because I think a lot of these people were asking for the big dogs, which the Orioles are not going to get rid of. But we did get a picture by the name of Jack Flaherty from St. Louis for about two pitching prospects and like an outfielding prospect or something like that to go to the St. Louis Cardinals. And he was very excited. He did okay with St. Louis. I think he had a 4.36 ERA, was like 6-3 or something like that. So it was okay, but he wasn't like, stellar, spectacular. But he pitched about 2 days after he was acquired by the Orioles and pitched a gem, I think, against the Toronto Blue Jays up in Canada. So, congratulations to Flaherty. We're going to see him probably sometime in the next series. I don't even remember. I don't even know who we're playing next. So after the Mets, who we're playing right now, after the Mets, we have a day off on Monday, and we've got the Houston Astros rolling in Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. That's going to be a tough series because the Astros are one of the teams slated to be in the playoffs along with us. So Flaherty's probably going to pitch one of those games, which is good. So we'll see. And then we do a West Coast trip where we go to St. Louis. We go to Seattle for 3 games. We go to San Diego for 3 games. We go to Oakland for 3 games. So we have a 9-game West Coast trip. And then we come back August 22nd for a homestand against the Blue Jays and the Rockies, which is the game we're going to go to August 27th. So should be fun. So Orioles are in really good shape right now. They're in first place. If they win today, they'll be 70-42. And still with about 50-some games to play, but we'll see how that rolls through there. But they acquired this guy, Jack Flaherty, looks pretty good, so we'll see if that works out. But the majority of stuff is they think that they have good enough people, good enough team that they're going to be able to contend, so that's good for them. So this past week's comics, the Hellfire Gala #1 comic came out this week. And it was going to set up the fall of X because the X-Men have been going through kind of a renaissance over the last 5 or 6 years. And they decided to kill 99% of the X-Men again, which they did in this series. So now the X-Men are back to being an endangered species. The device that they use to bring back dead mutants can no longer be utilized now. So now these mutants are now a minority now. So they're going to have to build through that. That's a story we've seen a million times before. And I just wanted to bring it up because that just is the new story, but it just sounds like Marvel's just, doesn't know what they're actually doing here. Whereas DC's comics seem to be making a lot of money. Though I am also shaking my head about the storylines going on there. I mean, they have this massive summer crossover called Night Terrors going on where every comic, there's like a million comics connected to it. So if I was still collecting comics, there'd be like 5 or 6 you have to buy every week, and they're probably all going to be within about the $5 range. So you'd be spending $30 alone just on comics, which I haven't read in a long time. So, but that seems to be what's going on here. Pokemon will be releasing a huge huggable Ditto plush. Ditto is one of these squishy little characters that'll be fun to squeeze and squish. And he is being released here very soon. Asteroid City, which came out in late June, didn't make as much money, didn't make as much noise. A lot of people thought it would. Will be hitting Blu-ray next week, August 15th. So you can check that out for yourselves. Lego's getting back into video game stuff. Fortnite had a Doctor Who collaboration set for November's 60th anniversary of Doctor Who, but it has now been pushed to December, January, because Lego has jumped in and said they're going to be doing a Doctor Who game as well. And I guess they get precedence over it. So the Lego Doctor Who game is going to get precedence, will be out November in honor of the 60th anniversary of Doctor Who. The Fortnite collaboration will be due out in December, January, which will be, they say, is going to be part of a mini battle pass, which they did for the Star Wars stuff with Darth Maul last May 5th. So this will be something similar to that. So that'd be kind of cool. There's also a new Lego Harry Potter Harry Potter game supposedly in the works as well, with the popularity of the Hogwarts Academy game. They decided to continue with that. Small Oregon town employs a robot waiter in a local restaurant, and that's causing some people to be a little peeved that they're not employing a human, and thus not giving an unemployed waiter waitress a job in place of a computerized robotic waiter. But again, it's a way to draw people's attention to the restaurant to see this robotic waiter for yourself. We'll see whatever it is. Barbenheimer continues to break all kinds of records. This one is an overseas record. The Omniplex Cinemas, which is the biggest cinema group in Ireland, has just posted a 14-day record-breaking window of viewers of 570,000 Irish, or maybe it's dollars, maybe $570,000 or 570,000 visitors to see Barbenheimer came to the Omniplex cinemas in Ireland over a 14-day period, a fortnight as it were. So Barbenheimer continues to be huge, not just here in the United States, but in overseas as well. Some horror stuff. The House of a Thousand Corpses, Rob Zombie's horrific film, gets a coloring book from Trick or Treat Productions, which is a company that specializes in horror and Halloween-esque sort of specialty items, stuff like that. So that's an intriguing idea. Again, once the WGA, SAG-AFTRA stuff gets covered, and again, this seems to be the big thing. Frankenstein seems to be the popular character now. It's been zombies, it's been vampires, it's been werewolves, been mummy, it's been all those, but it's been, they're going through the different horror groups. Frankenstein's turn is now. There's a number of Frankenstein movies in the works. I've talked to you about them, I think, last week. This week, we get a Bride of Frankenstein movie supposedly in the works with Maggie Gyllenhaal, who I really don't like all that much, Christian Bale, and Peter Skarsgård. So it's an interesting cast, as it were, and we'll see if it actually comes to pass once all these strikes are over with, but we shall see about that. Josh Hutcherson, who seems to be having himself a moment. He's in the Five Nights at Freddy movie and is also cast in this movie starring with Morgan Freeman. It's a time travel thriller called 57 Seconds. First trailer for that came out this week. I actually did not know it had come out till I saw the trailer near the end of the time I was getting ready to go on. So I know it's out there. Maybe I'll check it out later. But a new time travel film, Josh Hutcherson and Morgan Freeman, is coming out here very shortly. The first new Peanuts special in quite a while is finally going to make its debut on Apple TV later this year. It gets a trailer, and it's called One of a Kind Marcy, and it's going to focus on Peppermint Patty's best friend, Marcy, give her a much-needed spotlight where, maybe that's what we're going to start doing, is focusing on some of the other characters besides Charlie Brown, Linus, Lucy, and Snoopy, and Woodstock, and some of the other minor characters as well. Give them their time to shine. So we're going to get this. I would assume we'll probably see this sometime closer to Thanksgiving. It seems like a good family-oriented thing, even though it's not a Thanksgiving-themed one. It is a new Peanuts cartoon, and those are the type of things that you release around Thanksgiving. A Street Fighter 6 video game tournament was interrupted when a not safe for work Chun-Li mode made its way onto the server, which is basically a completely naked Chun-Li, because computer nerds are a bunch of horny teenagers who like to look at video game characters naked with big breasts and big asses and stuff like that. So they had to interrupt the game because someone's mod got into the game, so they had to shut it down and put her clothes back on. This is just a weird headline, so it's similar to the Street Fighter tournament. There's all kinds of video game tournaments. So here, this is the headline. Holes, which is a movie that came out, I'll get back with Shia LaBeouf. A Holes co-star wins the Mortal Kombat tournament while dressed in the Goofy movie costume. So I don't know who the actor was. I just saw the headline. I was like, this is hilarious. He starred in the movie Holes with Shia LaBeouf. He was in the middle of he won a Mortal Kombat video game tournament dressed as Goofy from a Goofy movie. It's like this weird yellow sort of Goofy-esque sort of costume. I thought the headline was hilarious, so figured leave that. Netflix has an interesting interactive idea. Supposedly they've tried it out a few times with some of their shows where you get to decide what happens in the TV show. In this case, then they start off with TV shows, stuff like that. But the first ever interactive rom-com will be released on Netflix in September, I believe. It's called Choose Love, and it's about a woman who's in a long-term relationship with a really nice, cool guy, and they're getting ready to get married. But just before all that happens, she runs into her ex-boyfriend, who is now a hottie, and turns out there was a misunderstanding to why they broke up, and she still finds herself attracted to him. And then she's also works for like a music company or whatever, and she falls in love also with a musician that she's working with. So we have to make her decisions for her about who she's going to end up with, what she's going to do. So there's going to be a scene where she's going to be talking to her ex-boyfriend, and there's going to be two little boxes that pop up that say, should you kiss him or should you walk away and tell him have a good day? And you press it and they will move on from there and keep the story going. It's a really interesting idea, and the trailer really gives you an idea of what they're aiming for. And as I said, Netflix, despite what you may think about Netflix, they've been pushing the envelope on a lot of things. And this is really one of those good ones where they're doing that. So that's good. Choose Love. Check that out. It's coming to Netflix soon. An adult film company has offered Mark Jackson, an ESPN commentator who's been fired, as ESPN is cleaning house because they need to cut salaries because they're losing money. He's one of the more popular ones out there. But an adult film company has offered him $1 million to be their play-by-play announcer for some live sexual content on their porn channel. So that'd be funny as hell. I doubt he'll take it because he probably has more ethics than that, I guess. I don't know if that's the proper term for it, but there it is. In rumor casting, the Fantastic Four casting continues to be rumored out the wazoo. Margot Robbie and Adam Driver are no longer now part of the equation. The new frontrunner for Sue Storm is now Vanessa Kirby, who is an actress who showed up in some of the Mission Impossible movies and some other stuff. She looks the part, and I'm actually kind of excited for it. It looks pretty good. And to play her brother Johnny, they are looking at Joseph Quinn, who played Eddie from Stranger Things, the guitar DM, long-haired sort of guy that became a huge fan favorite as Johnny. And honestly, I think he would be pretty good in that role as well. And the new rumor now for the next Reed Richards, Adam Driver is gone, is Matt Smith, the Doctor, Dr. 11, the 11th Doctor, which could be an intriguing idea. But again, I don't love it, but it might be intriguing. So, but I like the Vanessa Kirby cast. If I like the Vanessa Kirby idea and the Joseph Quinn idea, I think that they are not as well known, but they're known enough that you get an idea who they are. And I think you get a good idea. And I think as long as they can play the role, I think they'd be good at that. That'd be good. Now, I saw the movie. My daughter wanted to see the movie Midnight Run, and I showed it to her last weekend when I had her home for a brief time, and she really enjoyed it. And it'd been a while since I'd seen it, so I saw that. And back on July 4th, I also watched the movie Dave. And then just over this weekend, a thought crept into my head that is a movie theory that I'm going to throw out here real quick. I posted this on my Facebook, so if you've seen this, you can ignore this, but most of you probably haven't seen this. My film theory is that Charles Grodin's character in Midnight Run, the Duke, he's an accountant for the mob, is actually also the accountant Murray Blum in Dave, who is friends with Kevin Kline's Dave. He's the same person. Let me reiterate. First and obviously, Charles Grodin plays the same role, Murphy, and the Duke, Jonathan Mardukas, the Duke, and Murray Blum. He plays the same character. He's the actor who plays each role. The Duke is kind of a pompous, brainy sort of guy who started working for a big corporation, discovered they were a mafia front. When he discovered they were a mafia front, he stole their money and gave it to the poor, but you don't steal money from the mafia. And so the feds want him because they think he can turn state's evidence against the mob. The mob wants to kill him because he took his money, and the mob wants his money back, but they want to kill him to make a statement. And then Robert De Niro's character was called in for to be the bail collector because he jumped bail that was given by Joe Pantoliano's character. And so he wants De Niro to bring him back in so he doesn't lose the amount of money that he put into the guy's bail. So, spoiler alert, eventually things work out. The Duke and De Niro's characters, they bond during their road trip out to California. And De Niro also has it in for the mafia boss because the mafia boss who destroyed his life in Chicago when he refused to take any money from him when he ran Chicago. And one of the cops that did take money ended up marrying De Niro's ex-wife and is now the stepdad to his daughter. And he left in disgrace, stuff like that. So the end of the movie, spoiler alert, the mafia Don gets arrested by the feds, and De Niro releases Grodin's John Mardukas instead of returning him to his bail bondsman buddy, so he can recoup his money because the bail bondsman guy screwed him during this week-long trip by sending other people after Mardukas as well. And before he leaves, the Duke gives De Niro a belt full of money that has about $500,000 in it so that De Niro can get out of the bounty hunting business and open his coffee shop, which he's been dreaming about. And then the Duke, who also told De Niro that he has money stashed elsewhere, disappears from the Los Angeles airport, LAX. So the movie ends with De Niro walking away with his money and thinking about his future, bright future and everything, and the Duke has disappeared. Movie came out about 1988, 87, 88. I think it was 88, actually. Flash forward to 1994. That's 5-6 years later. Dave is set in Washington, D.C. Character of Dave is played by Kevin Kline, who is a guy who finds people jobs. He's not very good at it, but he finds people jobs. And the one person he always, confides in and not forces, but offers, he takes, he tries to find jobs for people in other areas, but he always keeps going back to Murray Blum, who is an accountant, played by Charles Grodin, who is also Dave's best friend. And Murray says that there's already like 5 or 6 people that Dave has dropped off to work at Murray's accounting firm, because Murray's an accountant, much like how the Duke is an accountant. And they're both played by Charles Grodin. So Murray's accounting firm is in Washington, D.C., one little suburban areas outside of D.C. I mean, D.C. is right there, and Murray's right there too. And he deals with more low-level accounting. He does more mom and pop shops and small business. He's not a big business guy. He's not struggling, but he's probably not making a fortune. He's not hugely rich. He's just, he's just working. He's an accountant, and he's doing his job. And Dave is his best friend, and he offers to keep having people that Dave is trying to find jobs for work for him, even though he's got no work for these people. So then you had me thinking, is Charles Grodin, as I said, plays both characters. They're both accountants. The Duke worked in big business, big mafia, big money. Murray Blum is a small-scale, lower-level accountant who has a very small office, nothing big, in a suburb of Washington, D.C. It's not massive. It's not huge. Nobody really knows who the hell he is. He's just your accountant. My thought is that, the FBI got their guy. They have enough on the Mafia Don. They can put him in jail for a long time. So they don't need the Duke's testimony towards him. The Duke then makes a deal with the FBI. He says, look, there's still some lieutenants out there that are probably going to try to hunt me down, whatever. You can maybe put me in some sort of protection, but this is what I want to do. I've got some money. I'd like to move to Washington, D.C., which is in the FBI's backyard. The main FBI headquarters is in Washington, D.C. I will move to Washington, D.C. I will live a small life, not a big life. I will not be a big money guy. I will work small. I'm an accountant, so what I'm good at. I know how to do it. I'll set up a new identity, call myself Murray Blum. I'll set up my own accounting firm where I work with smaller mom and pop stores or local stores or whatever, not getting my nose dirty, not dealing with major clients, big, huge money clients, smaller clients to help them with their accounting, maybe even some local people who need help with their taxes, just regular guys, regular Joes left and right, Obviously, I'm assuming that Murray is probably Dave's accountant for his company as well. It would not surprise me because Dave does not seem like the type of person who would know how to do accounting stuff. So it got me thinking that makes a lot of sense. So the FBI can sort of protect him knowing that he's just in their backyard. So if the mafia somehow is able to find him, the FBI can step in to help them out. He's also got, Secret Service and the whole of the United States government protection right there. Pentagon, stuff like that. So they got people that can protect him if need be. If he does what he says, there is no reason for anybody to know who he is. He's not going to be on TV. He's not going to be on any court cases. Nobody would probably even remember this dude from the 1980s who stole money from the mafia. If there was someone who did that, I'm sure there probably is someone. I couldn't remember. If they watch the news, they probably remember what he looks like. He probably walks past people all the time who probably saw the Duke on TV, but don't recognize Murray as being the Duke because I don't even remember the whole thing. It was a story I remember from 6 years ago, but it doesn't seem to be a big deal anymore. So it would make perfect sense. He can live comfortably, safely, knowing that the FBI is right there. He can have his life with his wife, regular wife, life. He's old enough that he can have a nice retirement. He's got enough money that he can do his own little thing. He can live a regular life and not be in fear for his life, being hunted down by bounty hunters, FBI, mafia guys, and just do good work because he likes to help poor people. He gave poor people the mafia's money. So now he's helping the same poor people with their accounting. Makes perfect sense to me, and I don't know if anybody's going to take that, but I think it's a good description here. I gotta get moving because I gotta take my son in about half an hour, so I start wrapping this up here soon. Noah, you got about half an hour. All right. Is that all the stories here? Yep. So deaths. We have Angus Cloud, who is a Euphoria cast member, died at the age of 25 this week. That's sad. Mark Gilpin, Jaws 2 actor, died at the age of 56. He was one of Roy Scheider's kids. He died at the age of 56 this week. And Carol Duvall is a longtime HGTV host, died at the age of 97 this week. Former work colleague Cheryl, I forget what her new married name is, Whitstad. But Cheryl, I'll just say Cheryl, who runs a yarn company out in the Midwest. She said she got into her yarn stuff because of, you all right? Okay, because of Carol Duvall. Anniversaries, Rush Hour 2 came out 2001, 22 years ago this week. Signs, 21 years ago this week as well. I will continue to defend Signs to the very end. I'm going to do this real quick also because I do have a little ways to go. People always saying that why do the aliens who are, that water is deadly to them, why would they come to a planet that is made up of 90% of water? Because they don't know water can hurt them. Because when the alien gets hit by the water at the end of the movie, he looks in shock at the pain that it's causing. He doesn't understand why it's hurting him. They did not know that water hurt them. That's the whole reason why they invade the earth and why it's not a stupid ending. And besides, it doesn't matter. It made $322 million. So you can just suck it. Signs is actually a really good movie. I talked about it earlier. I'm going to keep defending it every time I can. But I'm running out of time now. If I had more time, I would defend it more. But that's the main gist of it is, why did the aliens come to a planet full of water when they knew it could kill them? They didn't know it could kill them. And second, the twist ending was kind of stupid. There was no twist ending. The hit away or whatever that his wife's last words to him was not for him to be like, we need to do this because she foresaw this alien invasion and that was going to be the way to save it. No, it was just something that made him think of his wife and just thought about that when he saw the bat and the glasses around and the water was hurting them. Is like, okay, that's what you need to do. It wasn't a twist ending. There is no twist ending in Signs. Hollow Man, 23 years. That's Kevin Bacon and Paul Verhoeven's Invisible Man horror movie. That's it for that. Let's breeze through. This is a lot of anniversaries here, so I'm going to breeze through here real quick. Heavy Metal, the animated movie, is 42 years old this week. Buffy the Vampire Slayer, talked about that earlier with Paul Reubens. That came out in 1992, which makes it 31 years. Same weekend that Buffy the Vampire Slayer came out, Death Becomes Her, Robert Zemeckis' horror comedy with Bruce Willis, Meryl Streep, and Goldie Hawn, came out also in 92. The Guild, Felicia Day's online show, which made me fall in love with Felicia Day, and it's a great show in its general, came out in 2017 this week. So 22 would be 6 years ago. MTV came out 42 years ago this week, which MTV doesn't really exist that much anymore as it used to, but there we go. Guardians of the Galaxy, the original one, came out 9 years ago this week. The Parent Trap, I talked about that with Dix the Musical. The actual one with Lindsay Lohan is 25 years old this week. And Manhunter, a comic written by Archie Goodwin and Walt Simonson, which is outstanding, based on a character that was introduced in a Batman comic, is 50 years old this week. His comic, I mentioned it because it's 50 years old, and it's a really good comic. And Howard the Duck, one of my favorite half movies, one of the first comic book movies out there, is 37 years ago, came out 37 years ago this week. I have other stories to talk about that, but I don't have really time to do it. The Loch Ness Center is looking for Loch Ness Monster hunters to help them in their research for the Loch Ness Monster. I Am Groot Season 2 is due out September 6th. A whole new batch of I Am Groot shorts, computer-generated shorts. trailer came out this week. It looks adorable like the original ones were. Ethan Cohen's Drive Away Dolls is being moved to 2024. Was supposed to be out this year, but is now moved to 2024 due to the strikes. Reese's Peanut Butter Skeletons is the new Reese's Peanut Butter Halloween treat that goes along with the bats, the ghosts, and the pumpkins. You now get Reese's Peanut Butter Skeletons. Jujutsu Kaisen is the new anime collaboration coming to Fortnite this week. Spy Kids Armageddon, the new reboot of the Spy Kids franchise directed by Robert Rodriguez, is coming to Netflix on 9/22. First trailer came out for it, and honestly, it looks bad. It looks like a remake of Spy Kids, which is a great film, by the way. And it looks like Robert Rodriguez didn't know what he was going to do, but it looks like the same exact movie, but with new cast and characters. So I don't think I will see that, but that's just me. August 13th will be Froakie Community Day. Greninja is one of the most popular Pokemon characters out there. You're finally going to be able to get shiny Greninja and get more Froakies to get your Greninjas. This surprised me. Neil Gaiman's Good Omens Season 2 did extraordinarily well, but he has already said that Season 3 has been planned and plotted. I remember when they were trying to talk about doing a sequel to Good Omens that he said he wouldn't do it without Terry Pratchett, and then he felt okay with doing Season 2 because he and Terry were working on the lineup for a sequel to the book, and he took those ideas and ran with it. So I guess he's okay with it because I guess he sort of found a new love for the characters and is coming up with some new ideas. So he's running with it, I guess, because it is popular. It's usually popular. SAG-AFTRA will be giving waivers to certain films so they can actually make those films. Guy Ritchie's one of those, his new film is one of those that they're giving waivers to. There's a few other ones they're giving waivers to as well. I don't know how you can apply to get a waiver, but I know there's a way you can do that somewhere. Twitter is to be fined for installing the giant, massive, bright lit X sign on the roof of their San Francisco headquarters, which messed up a lot of people, because it's right across from a residential place, and it fucked up. I think it was on all night and it was bright, and they're now being fined to get that down. Elizabeth Banks is down to making a Cocaine Bear sequel. We'll see if he'd be able to do that. He should be able to do that. Another rumor of the week, Keanu Reeves is said to be in the new Star Wars show, Star Wars Acolyte, which is presently filming right now. Will not be out till next year at the earliest anyway. I don't know if it's even still filming anymore. It might have stopped filming due to the strikes, so we'll see, but that's the newest rumor now. Willem Dafoe went to a mortician school to prepare for his role in Poor Things. He's not exactly a method actor, but still it might be fun if you're playing a mortician to know some of the dialogue and lingo. Opinion, people are thinking that Greta Gerwig should direct the Supergirl movie that Gunn and Safran have talked about for a while, and they're on their list of movies that I think that'd be a brilliant choice to have Greta Gerwig be the director for that. Could The Mandalorian Season 4 be a movie? That's the newest rumor now, is that instead of it being a TV show, they're just going to turn it into a movie. I don't know if I'm a fan of that. I like the idea of a half-hour series because it's like 6 episodes, 8 episodes, half-hour each. That's about 240 minutes. That's a 2-hour – it's a 4-hour movie. So I don't know. I'm a big fan of that idea. I kind of like to see a Season 4 TV series. Kodak had to develop the first ever black and white film stock for IMAX for Oppenheimer. They did it, and it made money, so it's good on them to do that. Across the Spider-Verse is going to hit Blu-ray on September 5th, so that's good. If you haven't seen it yet, you can pop it up on or if you did see it and you loved it, you can now see it there. Gillis Gilbert, an NHL goaltender, died at the age of 74 this week. Bella Thorne and Jack Kilmer, who is Val's son and looks almost exactly like him, have signed on for a mermaid-centric film called The Tower. Again, once SAG-AFTRA and all that stuff gets taken care of, though, that'll be taken care of. And the last 2 stories I have. Voyager 2 suffers a communications breakdown, and NASA was upset about that because it would not be able to transmit to Earth until at the earliest October. They wouldn't receive the transmissions until the earliest October. It would still be transmitting stuff, but because the antenna was shifted it away from Earth, that it would not be available to be relined up again till October. But they decided they're going to do one last ditch, a Hail Mary pass, and came up with a way to, I think, as the blogger said, sort of a shout to Voyager 2, because they were able to find the strange wavelengths from that area, and they were able to tap onto it, and then they sent a massive shout from one of the biggest radio telescopes, or from all the radio telescopes, to Voyager 2 saying, hey, turn your thing back to this position. And they did, and Voyager 2 is back on, and everything is good. So that's a good story with that. Oops. And finally, the final story will be just over 2 hours now. The final story for today's episode. The NFL is going to offer the first ever alternate telecast of the Super Bowl. But this one is going to be on Nickelodeon. Now, the Nickelodeon has been doing a bunch of the playoff games, and people love the Nickelodeon playoff games. Well, now they're going to get the chance to get their alternate feed for the Super Bowl, which is going to be targeted at kids. So that's a great idea. Football's in the air, fall's in the air, Halloween's in the air. Next week, my daughter and wife are going to be in Philadelphia, so we'll see how we'll do things here, and we'll see how this week goes. All right, I'm out of here because I got to go. Bye.